The survey ship Wandering Star had been floating through the Kelleran Nebula for 3 weeks. The crew was tired. They had found nothing but empty space and dead rocks. Lieutenant Maya Collins was starting to think this mission was a waste of time. Maya was 28 years old with short brown hair and tired eyes. She had joined the space fleet because she wanted adventure. Instead, she got long hours of staring at scanner screens and eating recycled food. Today was supposed to be like every other day. It was not. "Collins, suit up," her captain said over the comm. "We found something." Maya pulled on her spacesuit and made her way to the airlock. Captain Daniel Price was already there, along with Dr. Nathan Gray, the ship's science officer. Nathan was a thin man with glasses and a habit of talking too much about things nobody understood. "What did we find?" Maya asked. "Wreckage," Daniel said. "Old wreckage. Maybe thousands of years old. We need to check it out." They floated across the empty space between their ship and the ruins. The wreckage was strange. It was made of a metal that Maya had never seen before. It was black, but also somehow shiny, like oil on water. The ship had been big once. Now it was just broken pieces floating in the dark. Maya moved through the debris carefully. Her helmet light cut through the darkness. She saw strange writing on the walls. She saw chairs that were too big for humans. She saw bones that made her stomach turn. And then she saw the egg dot. It was sitting in what looked like a small room. The walls around it had protected it from the destruction that had taken the rest of the ship. The egg was about the size of a watermelon. Its surface was covered in tiny scales that changed color as Maya's light moved across them. Purple, blue, purple again. "Captain," Maya said into her comm, "you need to see this." Daniel and Nathan arrived a few minutes later. Nathan immediately started scanning with his equipment. His eyes went wide behind his glasses. "It's alive," he whispered. "There's something alive inside. I can detect a heartbeat." "What kind of creature?" Daniel asked. "I don't know. Nothing in our records matches this. But the readings suggest something reptilian. Something big." Maya reached out without thinking. She didn't know why. Something about the egg called to her. Her gloved hand touched the shell, and she felt warmth through her suit. That should have been impossible. Spacesuits were designed to block temperature. The egg pulsed under her hand. Something moved inside. "We have to take it with us," Maya said. Daniel looked at her. "Collins, we don't know what's in there. It could be dangerous. The ship is falling apart. Radiation levels are rising. If we leave it here, whatever is inside will die." Maya kept her hand on the egg. "I'm not going to let that happen." They brought the egg back to the Wandering Star. Nathan set up a thermal containment unit in the cargo bay to keep it warm. The whole crew came to look at it. Everyone had questions. Nobody had answers. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the egg. She kept feeling that strange warmth. Finally, she gave up trying to rest and made her way to the cargo bay. The egg was glowing softly in the darkness. Maya sat down beside it and leaned against the wall. She didn't touch it this time. She just watched. "I don't know what you are," she said quietly, "but I found you. So I guess you're my responsibility now." The egg pulsed as if it had heard her. Maya closed her eyes. She was more tired than she thought. Within minutes, she was asleep, sitting right there on the cold metal floor beside the strange alien egg. She woke to the sound of cracking. It was 347 hours, according to the clock on the wall. The cargo bay was dark, except for the soft glow of the containment unit, and the egg was breaking open. Maya scrambled to her feet, her heart pounding. She should call the captain. She should call Nathan. She should do something. But she couldn't move. She could only watch. The shell cracked down the middle. A small head pushed through. It was covered in scales that matched the shell, purple and blue and beautiful. Two golden eyes opened and looked directly at Maya. The creature pulled itself free of the shell. It had a long body like a snake, but it also had 4 legs and small wings pressed tight against its sides. It was no bigger than a house cat. It was shaking and making small crying sounds. A dragon. Maya was looking at a dragon. The creature stumbled toward the edge of the containment unit. It was trying to get to Maya. It reached the edge and started to fall. Maya caught it. The moment her hands touched its scales, something happened. Maya felt a warmth spread through her chest. She felt a connection form, like a bridge building itself between her mind and another. The creature stopped crying. It looked up at her with those golden eyes and made a soft purring sound. Then it curled up against her chest, wrapped its tiny tail around her arm, and fell asleep. Maya stood there in the dark cargo bay, holding an alien dragon against her heart. She didn't know what had just happened. She didn't understand the strange feeling in her chest. But she knew one thing for certain. This creature had chosen her, and she would protect it with her life. The door opened behind her. Daniel and Nathan rushed in, alerted by the noise. They stopped when they saw Maya standing there with the creature in her arms. "What is that?" Daniel whispered. Maya looked down at the sleeping dragon. Its scales were warm against her skin. Its tiny heart beat in time with her own. "I don't know," she said, "but I think it's mine now." Nathan moved closer, his scanner in hand. The readings made him gasp. "The bond," he said. "There's some kind of neural connection forming between you two. I've never seen anything like this." Maya didn't need a scanner to tell her that. She could feel it. She could feel the creature's contentment. She could feel its exhaustion. She could feel its relief at finally being held. "It was alone for so long," Maya said. Her voice was strange, distant. "In the dark. In the cold. Waiting. It was waiting for someone to find it." "Collins, how do you know that?" Daniel asked. Maya shook her head. "I don't know. I just know." The dragon shifted in her arms, pressing closer to her warmth. Maya held it tighter. Whatever happened next, whatever this creature was, they were connected now. For better or worse, their lives were linked, and Maya had a feeling that nothing would ever be the same again. The next 3 days on the Wandering Star were chaos. Captain Daniel Price sent an emergency message to Fleet Command. Within hours, orders came back. A science vessel called the Meridian was on its way. Experts were coming to study the creature. Maya spent every moment with the dragon. She named it Ember because sometimes, when it was happy, its scales flickered with a soft inner light, like coals in a dying fire. Ember ate small pieces of protein paste and drank water from a dish. It followed Maya everywhere, riding on her shoulder or curled around her neck. Nathan studied them both as much as Maya would allow. He was amazed by what he found. "The bond between you is getting stronger," he told Maya on the second day. "Your brain waves are starting to sync up. When you're calm, Ember is calm. When you're stressed, Ember gets agitated. It's like you're becoming 2 parts of one system. Is that dangerous?" Maya asked. Nathan shrugged. "I have no idea. Nothing like this has ever happened before." The Meridian arrived on the 4th day. It was a bigger ship than the Wandering Star, white and sleek and full of scientists. Dr. Patricia Holloway led the research team. She was a tall woman with gray hair and cold eyes. Maya did not like her from the first moment they met. "Remarkable," Patricia said, staring at Ember like it was a piece of equipment rather than a living creature. "Simply remarkable. We'll need to begin tests immediately." "What kind of tests?" Maya asked. "Blood samples, tissue samples, neural scans, stress response evaluations." We need to understand everything about this creature's biology. Maya felt Ember tense against her shoulder. Through their bond, she felt fear. Ember did not understand the words, but it understood the feeling. This woman wanted to hurt it. "You're scaring her," Maya said. Patricia raised an eyebrow. "Her? She's female. And she's not a lab specimen. She's a person." Patricia smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Lieutenant Collins, you are a junior officer with no scientific training. I am a xenobiologist with 30 years of experience. I will determine what this creature is and what it needs. Your job is to cooperate." The first order Patricia gave was to separate Maya from Ember. "The bond is contaminating our data," Patricia explained to Captain Daniel. "We need to study the creature in isolation to understand its baseline behavior." Daniel looked uncomfortable. "Dr. Holloway, I'm not sure that's a good idea. The creature seems very attached to Collins. It's an alien animal, Captain. It will adapt." They put Ember in a containment cell in the science bay. The walls were transparent so they could observe it. The cell had food and water and a warm light. It had everything a creature could need, except Maya. The screaming started within minutes. Ember threw herself against the walls of the cell. She clawed at the transparent surface until her talons bled. Her scales, which had been a peaceful purple-blue, turned an angry red. And she screamed. It was not a normal animal sound. It was a cry of pure anguish that seemed to vibrate through the very structure of the ship. "Fascinating," Patricia said, taking notes. "Strong separation anxiety. This could indicate a parasitic bond structure." Maya was being held in her quarters by 2 security guards. She could hear Ember's screaming through the walls. She could feel Ember's terror through their bond. It was like having her own heart ripped out of her chest. "Please," she begged the guards. "She's hurting herself. She's going to die." "Doctor's orders," one of the guards said. "I'm sorry, Lieutenant." Hours passed. The screaming continued. Nathan burst into the science bay, his face pale with worry. "You have to stop this," he told Patricia. "I've been monitoring the creature's vitals. Its heart rate is off the charts. Stress hormones are at dangerous levels. It hasn't slept at all. If you keep this up, it's going to have a heart attack." "The creature needs to learn independence," Patricia said calmly. "It's going to die." Patricia finally looked up from her notes. She seemed annoyed rather than concerned. "Fine. We'll try a brief exposure. Bring the lieutenant here." 5 minutes only. The guards brought Maya to the science bay. The moment she stepped through the door, the screaming stopped. Ember's head whipped around. Her scales faded from red to blue in an instant. She pressed herself against the wall of the cell, reaching toward Maya with her small clawed hands. "Let me in," Maya said. Patricia hesitated, then nodded to a technician. The cell door opened. Maya stepped inside. Ember launched herself across the space between them and landed on Maya's shoulder. She wrapped her tail around Maya's arm, pressed her head against Maya's neck, and made a soft keening sound. Within 30 seconds, Ember was asleep. The scientists stared in silence. Nathan checked his equipment. "Stress hormones dropping," he said. "Heart rate normalizing. She's completely calm now." He looked at Patricia. 5 minutes ago, she was dying. Now she's perfectly healthy. All because Maya walked into the room. Patricia frowned. This level of dependency is abnormal. We need to break the bond and establish proper research protocols. Break the bond? Maya held Ember closer. This bond is the only thing keeping her alive. If you break it, you'll kill her. Lieutenant, you are not qualified to make that assessment. I don't need qualifications. I can feel her. Right now, she's dreaming. She feels safe because I'm holding her. If you take her away again, her heart will break. And if her heart breaks, Should I? Patricia opened her mouth to argue, but Daniel stepped forward. Enough, the captain said. His voice was firm. Dr. Holloway, I'm in command of this ship, and I'm telling you that Collins stays with the creature. You can run your tests, but you do it with Maya present. That's an order. Patricia's eyes went cold. Fleet Command will hear about this. Fine. Tell them. But until they give me different orders, we do this my way. That night, Maya slept in a small room next to the science bay. Ember curled up on her chest, warm and safe. Through their bond, Maya felt gratitude. She felt love. She felt the fierce determination of a creature that had been alone for so very long and was finally not alone anymore. I won't let them take you, Maya whispered. I promise. Whatever happens, I'll keep you safe. Ember purred in her sleep. Her scales flickered with soft light. And somewhere deep in Maya's mind, in that new and growing connection between them, Maya felt Ember's response. I know, the feeling seemed to say. That's why I chose you. News of the discovery spread across human space within days. Scientists wanted to study Ember. Politicians wanted to control her. Military commanders wanted to understand what she could do. But the biggest surprise came from the Drati. The Drati were one of the oldest species in the known galaxy. They looked like giant insects, with hard shells and many eyes. Humans had made contact with them 50 years ago, but the Drati rarely spoke to anyone. They considered most species too young to bother with Dot, so when a Drati ambassador requested an immediate meeting, everyone paid attention. The holographic image of Ambassador Velkith appeared in the Wandering Stars conference room. It stood 7 feet tall, its shell gleaming green and gold. Its compound eyes looked at each person in turn before settling on Maya and the creature on her shoulder. So it is true, Velkith said. Its voice was strange, like many voices speaking at once. An Aldari has awakened. You know what she is? Nathan asked eagerly. We know. We remember. Though we had given up hope of ever seeing one again. Velkith explained. The story was ancient, older than the Drati themselves. Once, long ago, the Aldari had ruled the galaxy. They were the first intelligent species to evolve, the first to travel between stars. They were creatures of immense power. They could move objects with their thoughts. They could travel through space without ships. They could live for thousands of years, Dot, but with great power came great loneliness. The Aldari were different from all other life. They could not connect with lesser species. They could not form bonds of love or friendship. They were alone in a galaxy full of life that could never understand them, Dot, so they began to die. Not from age or disease, but from sorrow. One by one, they gave up and faded away. The last of them made a desperate choice. They entered a deep sleep and left behind their eggs, hoping that someday, somewhere, a species would evolve that could understand them. A species that could form the bond they needed to survive. 10,000 years have passed, Velkith said. We believed the Aldari were extinct. But this one has hatched. And she has chosen a human as her partner. Maya felt Ember shift on her shoulder. Through their bond, she felt something like recognition. Ember understood what was being said, even if she didn't know the words. What does it mean to be her partner? Maya asked. It means you are connected. Your minds are linked. As the bond grows stronger, you will share thoughts, feelings, even abilities. An Aldari's partner becomes more than they were before. They become something new. Patricia Holloway leaned forward. Ambassador, we've been trying to study the creature properly, but it refuses to be separated from Lieutenant Collins. Is there a way to transfer the bond to someone more qualified? The room went silent. Velketh's compound eyes turned to Patricia, and even through the hologram, Maya could feel the alien's disapproval. You tried to separate them? For scientific purposes, you nearly killed the last of the Aldari. Velketh's voice was hard. The bond cannot be transferred. It cannot be broken. To attempt such a thing is to murder both the Eldari and her partner. They are one being now, in all the ways that matter. Patricia paled. I didn't know. Then you should not have acted. Velketh turned back to Maya. Human Maya Collins, you have been given a gift that has not been given to any being in 10,000 years. Do you understand what this means? Maya looked at Ember. The dragon looked back at her with golden eyes full of trust. She was alone, Maya said. Cold and alone in the dark, waiting for someone to find her. I was the one who found her. I held her when she was scared. I stayed with her when everyone else wanted to take her away. Maya straightened her shoulders. I don't care about power or science or politics. I care about her. She's my responsibility. She's my friend. Velketh made a sound that might have been laughter. This is why she chose you. Not because you are strong or smart or important. Because you are kind. Because when you found a helpless creature, you held it close instead of turning away. The Eldari value compassion above all other qualities. Yours must be very great indeed. After the transmission ended, the room was quiet for a long time. Well, Captain Daniel finally said, I think we need to reconsider our approach. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. Patricia Holloway was removed from the project and sent back to Fleet Command. Nathan Gray took over as lead scientist, working with Maya rather than against her. The Meridian left, and the Wandering Star continued its journey with a new mission, to learn about the Eldari and their human partner. Ember grew quickly. In just 1 month, she went from the size of a house cat to the size of a large dog. Her wings grew stronger. Her scales became brighter. And her bond with Maya grew deeper. Maya started to notice changes in herself. She could feel Ember's location without looking. She could sense Ember's emotions as clearly as her own. Once, when a small fire broke out in the engine room, Maya felt the heat before the alarms even went off. You're changing, Nathan told her during one of their regular checkups. Your brain patterns are becoming more complex. You're developing new neural pathways that don't exist in normal humans. Is that bad? Maya asked. I don't know. I don't think so. It's just different. Nathan smiled. You're becoming something new, Maya. Something humanity has never seen before. That night, Maya sat with Ember in the observation deck. The stars filled the window, countless points of light against the darkness. Ember was big enough now that she couldn't fit on Maya's shoulder. Instead, she curled around Maya's body like a living blanket, her head resting in Maya's lap. Through their bond, Maya felt a question. It wasn't in words, but she understood it anyway. You want to know if I'm scared, Maya said. Scared of changing. Scared of what I'm becoming. Ember looked up at her with golden eyes. Maybe a little, Maya admitted. But not really, because I know you'll be with me. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Ember's response came not in words, but in feelings. Love, gratitude, a fierce protectiveness that matched Maya's own. And something else, something deeper. A promise. I will never leave you, the feeling said. We are one now. Forever. Maya smiled and stroked Ember's scales. They were warm under her fingers, always warm. Forever, she agreed. I like the sound of that. Outside the window, the stars continued their eternal dance. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the last of the Eldari slept peacefully in the arms of her human partner, dreaming of all the adventures they would share. 3 months had passed since Maya found the egg. Ember was now the size of a small horse, too big to fit through most doorways on the ship. The crew had converted one of the cargo bays into living quarters for her and Maya. It was filled with soft blankets, warm lights, and a large window that looked out at the stars. Maya had changed too. She was stronger now, faster. She could feel things that no human should be able to feel. The emotions of people around her, the hum of the ship's engines, the distant pull of stars light years away. And sometimes, when she was angry or scared, her hands glowed with the same inner light that flickered in Ember's scales. Life was strange, but good. Then, the Sovereign arrived. The Dreadnought was one of the largest ships in the human fleet. It carried 5,000 soldiers and enough weapons to destroy a small planet. Admiral Victor Crane commanded it, and he had orders directly from the highest levels of government. The creature represents the single most important discovery in human history, Crane declared. He stood in the Wandering Stars conference room, tall and cold and completely sure of himself. We will not allow it to remain in the hands of a junior officer. Captain Daniel stood firm. Admiral, the Drati made it clear that separation would kill both the Aldari and Lieutenant Collins. The Drati are aliens. Their information cannot be trusted. They may have their own reasons for wanting us to leave the creature alone. Crane turned his cold eyes to Maya. Lieutenant, you will surrender custody of the creature. It will be transferred to the Sovereign for proper study and development. Maya stood with one hand resting on Ember's neck. Through their bond, she felt Ember's fear and anger. She felt her own emotions mixing with Ember's until she couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Her name is Ember, Maya said. And she's not a creature. She's my partner. My friend. I won't give her up. This is not a request, Lieutenant. This is an order from Fleet Command. Then Fleet Command is wrong. The room went silent. No one spoke to an admiral that way. No one defied Fleet Command. But Maya didn't care about ranks or orders anymore. She cared about Ember. She cared about the bond they shared. She would die before she let anyone take that away. Crane's face hardened. Security, take Lieutenant Collins into custody. Have the creature sedated and moved to the Sovereign. What happened next was chaos. 6 soldiers moved toward Maya and Ember. They carried stun weapons and sedation needles. They were trained professionals, ready for any situation. They were not ready for an Aldari. Ember screamed. It was not the sad, frightened scream of those first days when they tried to separate her from Maya. This was something else. This was rage. The sound hit the soldiers like a physical force. They stumbled back, hands over their ears. Then Ember released her power. A wave of energy exploded outward from her body. Every electronic device in the room died. Lights went dark. Weapons failed. The holographic display flickered and vanished. Even the artificial gravity stuttered for a moment before the backup systems kicked in. Ember's scales blazed white-hot. She spread her wings, filling half the room, and roared again. The sound shattered the reinforced windows. Cold space air rushed in before emergency shields activated, but she didn't hurt anyone. Not a single person was touched by her power. The energy wave had been perfectly controlled, destroying machines but leaving people unharmed. Maya stepped forward, standing between Ember and the stunned soldiers. She doesn't want to fight, Maya said. Her voice was calm, even though her heart was racing. Neither do I. We just want to be left alone. But if you try to separate us, if you try to take her from me, people will die. Not because Ember wants to hurt anyone, but because the power of an Aldari is not meant to be contained. Admiral Crane stared at the destruction around him. His perfect uniform was covered in dust. His ship was now the only source of power in the room, and even its systems were flickering. You're threatening me? He asked. I'm telling you the truth. Ember and I are bound together. We can't be separated without killing us both. And even if you somehow found a way to keep us apart, Ember's grief would destroy everything around her. She wouldn't mean to, but an Aldari's emotions become reality. If she loses me, her sorrow could tear this ship apart. Crane's eyes narrowed. You expect me to believe that? I don't care what you believe. But ask yourself this. Is it worth the risk? Is whatever you think you'll gain worth the lives of everyone on this ship? On your ship? Because I promise you, Admiral, if you take Ember from me, you will lose everything. The silence stretched on. Crane looked at Ember, at her blazing scales and spreading wings. He looked at Maya, at the strange light in her eyes and the power gathering around her hands. And finally, he looked at his soldiers, who were backing away slowly, their useless weapons hanging at their sides. This isn't over, Crane said at last. Yes, Maya replied. It is. Crane turned and walked out of the room. His soldiers followed. Within the hour, the Sovereign had departed. Jumping to hyperspace without another word. Captain Daniel let out a breath he seemed to have been holding for hours. Well, that was something. Nathan was already running around with scanning equipment, trying to document what had happened. The energy output was incredible. Maya, your biosign spiked at the exact moment Ember released her power. You were channeling through her, or she was channeling through you. I'm not sure which. Maya wasn't really listening. She was looking at Ember, who had calmed down now, her scales fading back to their normal purple-blue. The dragon pressed her head against Maya's chest, and through their bond, Maya felt exhaustion and relief and love. You could have killed them, Maya said quietly. Ember's response came as a feeling, not words. She could have. The power was there. But Maya hadn't wanted her to. And so she hadn't. Maya wrapped her arms around Ember's neck. They stood together in the ruined conference room, surrounded by broken glass and dead machines. And Maya realized something important. They were not just partners anymore. They were not just bonded. They were one being, two halves of a single whole. Whatever happened to one happened to the other. Whatever one felt, the other felt. They were connected in ways that nobody else could understand. And together, they were more powerful than any fleet of ships or any army of soldiers. We're going to have to be careful, Maya said. People are going to be scared of us. They're going to try to control us or destroy us. Ember looked at her with golden eyes. Through their bond, Maya felt her response. Don't let them try. Maya smiled despite everything. Yeah, she said. Let them try. 6 months had passed since Maya Collins found an egg in the wreckage of an ancient ship. Everything was different now. Everything was better. Admiral Crane had been removed from command after his failed attempt to take Ember by force. The new leadership at Fleet Command was more reasonable. They understood that Maya and Ember couldn't be separated, and they didn't want to try. Instead, they offered the Wandering Star a new mission, to serve as ambassadors to the galaxy, with Maya and Ember as their most important crew members. Hadrati had helped make this happen. Ambassador Velkith spoke to human leaders about the importance of the Aldari. The ancient species had once kept peace across the galaxy. They had stopped wars, healed worlds, and guided young civilizations toward wisdom. Now, with Ember's awakening, there was a chance for that legacy to continue. Ember had grown into her full adult size. She was as big as a transport shuttle now, with wings that could carry her through the vacuum of space itself. Her scales shifted through every color of the rainbow depending on her mood. Her eyes still glowed with that same golden light, warm and wise beyond her years. Maya had changed just as much. The bond between them had grown so strong that sometimes Maya forgot where she ended and Ember began. She could see through Ember's eyes if she wanted. She could feel what Ember felt. And she could do things that no human had ever done before. Fire that didn't burn. Light that warmed but didn't blind. The ability to survive in the cold of space, wrapped in Ember's wings. The power to reach out with her mind and touch the thoughts of others. These were gifts from the bond, shared abilities that belonged to both of them. The rest of the crew had gotten used to having a dragon on board. Nathan spent hours talking with Maya and Ember, learning everything he could about the Aldari. Captain Daniel had become like a father to Maya, always there when she needed advice or support. Even the youngest crew members had stopped being afraid of Ember. They brought her treats from the kitchen and played games with her in the cargo bay. The Wandering Star was more than a ship now. It was a family dot. Today was a special day. A diplomatic summit was being held on a neutral space station with representatives from 12 different species. The topic of discussion was Maya and Ember, and what their existence meant for the future of the galaxy. Maya stood in the center of the Great Hall, with Ember curled around her like a protective wall. Hundreds of aliens watched them with every kind of eye imaginable. Some looked curious. Some looked afraid. Some looked hopeful. Admiral Patricia Hayes spoke first. She had replaced Crane and was nothing like him. She was fair and honest, and she treated Maya with respect. 6 months ago, we found something incredible, Patricia said. An Aldari egg, waiting to hatch after 10,000 years. We made mistakes at first. We tried to separate the hatchling from the human it had bonded with. We nearly killed them both. She paused. But we learned. We listened. And now we're here to ask what comes next. Ambassador Velkith stepped forward. The Drotti's compound eyes glittered in the station's lights. The Aldari were the guardians of this galaxy, Velkith said. They kept peace among the stars. They stopped wars before they could begin. They healed worlds that had been scarred by conflict. When they fell into their long sleep, the galaxy became a darker place. We have fought among ourselves for 10,000 years, with no one to guide us toward peace. Velkith turned to look at Maya and Ember. But now an Aldari has awakened, and she has chosen a human as her partner. This is not an accident. The Aldari do not bond with just anyone. They choose partners who carry the best qualities of their species. Maya Collins was chosen because she showed compassion when it would have been easier to turn away. She showed loyalty when it would have been easier to give up. She showed love when she had nothing to gain from it. Maya felt Ember's warmth against her back. Through their bond, she felt encouragement and pride. The Aldari saw something in humanity, Velkith continued. Something worth bonding with. Something worth waking up for after 10,000 years of sleep. Perhaps we should all pay attention to what they saw. After the speeches ended, representatives from every species came forward to meet Maya and Ember. Some bowed. Some reached out to touch Ember's scales. Some simply stood and looked, their alien eyes full of wonder. A small being that looked like a ball of light floated up to Maya. "Will you help us?" It asked in a voice like singing. "Our world is dying. We have nowhere else to go." Maya looked at Ember. Through their bond, she felt Ember's answer before she even asked the question. "Yes," Maya said. "We'll help you." That night, Maya and Ember sat alone in a quiet observation room on the station. The stars filled the window, endless and beautiful. This was their favorite thing to do. Just sit together and look at the universe. "It's a lot," Maya said. "Being responsible for so much. Helping so many people. Are we ready for this?" Ember's response came as feelings rather than words. Confidence, determination, and underneath it all, a gentle reminder. They were not alone. They had each other. They would always have each other. "I keep thinking about the day I found your egg," Maya said. "I didn't know what you were. I didn't know what would happen. I just saw something that needed help, and I helped." She leaned against Ember's warm side. The dragon wrapped a wing around her, surrounding her in purple-blue scales that glittered with starlight. "Is that why you chose me? Because I held you when you were scared?" Ember's answer was the clearest thing Maya had ever felt through their bond. It wasn't just words or feelings. It was truth. Yes, that was everything. In 10,000 years of waiting, Ember had sensed countless beings pass by her egg, Some were powerful. Some were intelligent. Some were important. But Maya was the first one who had reached out with kindness instead of fear. The first one who had held a frightened creature close instead of turning away. In that moment, Ember had known. This was her partner. This was her family. This was home. Maya felt tears on her cheeks. Happy tears. She had never felt so loved in her entire life. The universe is big, she said. There's so much to see, so much to do. People to help. Worlds to explore. Are you ready? Ember stood up. She stretched her wings wide, and for a moment she seemed to fill the entire room with color and light and warmth. Then she lowered her head and looked at Maya, with those golden eyes that had first opened to look at her in a cold cargo bay 6 months ago. Ready. The feeling said. Together, Maya smiled and climbed onto Ember's back. It was something she had learned to do over the past few months, riding between the stars on the back of a dragon. It never stopped feeling magical. Then let's go, Maya said. The universe is waiting. Ember spread her wings and leaped through the station's open launch bay, out into the endless black of space. The stars surrounded them, countless points of light, each one a world full of people who might need their help. Behind them, the station grew smaller. Ahead of them, the galaxy stretched on forever. Maya Collins, a junior lieutenant who had just wanted adventure, was now the partner of the last Eldari. Together, they were going to change everything, but none of that mattered as much as the simple truth at the heart of it all. Maya had found a friend in the darkness, and that friend had slept only when she came back. That was where it started. That was what it was really about. Not power. Not destiny. Not the fate of the galaxy. Just love. Just loyalty. Just choosing to hold someone close when they needed it most. In the end, that was always enough.